in real time. Curfews as early as 1 p.m. In some parts of the state, others as late as 8 p.m. And that is a determination made by the experts on the ground based upon the conditions in their communities. Statewide, we have 7,000 California Highway Patrol. Again, full tactical alert, have been for days with protective gear all up and down the state of California. Working again to deploy the National Guard, an additional 1,100 guardsmen and women that are deployed just today. Thousands over the last few days. We have many National Guardsmen and women working on COVID response. We are looking at a subset of those on COVID response to see if we can pre-position and make them available to meet the needs of communities all across the state of California. So substantial support from the state of California and obviously robust local support, mutual aid system, well-defined, well-organized, and a county overlay with the county sheriffs working with CHP and ultimately with the National Guards.
The next question is from Jill Cohen of the New York Times. She would like to know how worried you are about the spread of COVID-19 at these protests and how the state is tracking any related spread. And after we saw testing sites close in Los Angeles as curfews went into effect, how are you and local health officials ensuring that protesters can get tested?
Well, we want to make sure everybody can get tested. I encourage people to go on the covid19.ca.gov website, type in your zip code, and you'll see the closest site for testing available and open today. Yesterday, we conducted over 67,000 tests, day 4 and 5, into this very challenging period. So people are being tested substantially so all throughout the state of California, even in the midst of this latest challenge. And so we encourage that from public health and public safety perspective, and we want to make sure we continue to provide more sites, more points of access for people to get tested, and obviously when those testing sites open, to deal with the backlog as it relates to those individuals that otherwise would have gotten tested, which again we continue to encourage people all throughout the state with symptoms and those that are asymptomatic that may be in an environment where they're more vulnerable to the prospect of the spread of this disease.
The next question is from Kathleen Romaine of the Associated Press. You've said you are monitoring violent extremist organizing. Have you found any evidence of such groups infiltrating the protests? And if so, who are they? And do you think that the police are handling them appropriately?
Yeah, they're well defined all throughout this country. They're names you've heard of, names I don't even particularly want to reinforce and promote, which is their intent and their interest. But they are well defined, those same names, those same groups. That many do come from out of the communities of which they're creating havoc. Many come from other parts of not only let's be honest, other parts of the country. Many are homegrown. To monitor all of these groups, and it's our intention to continue to collaborate and share that information. A lot of it's generated by the federal government, a lot by the state, and then a very well organized system that has existed for some time in this state, where we share that in real time with local law enforcement, but that is also a two-way conversation, local law enforcement sharing what they're hearing in real time as well. So we are monitoring those groups, and I will say this, I don't think, because I've been deeply involved in terms of the collaborative spirit and engagement at the local, regional, federal level. It's been an incredibly focused and very effective system, and I'm pleased with the communication flow between those respective agencies and those jurisdictions.
I understand that you don't want to name the specific groups, but could you generally characterize what type of extremist groups you're talking about?
You have groups that are hell-bent on creating problems, and anarchist groups. You've got the folks that are well-defined, that have been highlighted by the president and others, and there are other groups out there that are organized, some less organized, and some individuals that are not even organized that certainly are looking to create havoc. I don't by any stretch suggesting we hide these names. These names are well reviewed, well received, but I also see every time an elected official like me mentions them, they start to be spread between their supporters, and with all due respect to some of these groups, I'm not going to give you that privilege right now.
Jenna Barrow of the Sacramento Observer asks, Locally, African American protesters have been injured, shot in the face with rubber bullets not far from the Capitol. She would like to know if you can address this and if shooting into a crowd of people is justifiable in this situation.
Yeah, I don't know specific issues related to those incidences, and I'm happy to get more details about those incidences. All across the state, we're monitoring from Bakersfield to Modesto, Fresno, Santa Barbara, San Luis Obispo, LA, San Francisco, San Jose, up northern parts of the state. We've been monitoring all across the state activity, and all I can say this is we want restraint. We want as much expression of respect with law enforcement and protesters as humanly possible. Empathy, understanding, again, a collaborative spirit. But we also need peace, and we need to protect small businesses, and we need to protect people that are scared, that they're behind walls with their children, they're scared about their safety as well. And we need to call out those that are hell-bent on creating violence and drowning out the voices of legitimate protests.
Instances of police firing into crowds of what appear to be peaceful protesters or targeting individual peaceful protesters have been well documented. Have you seen those, and what is your reaction to seeing videos of those?
Well, nothing breaks my heart than see anyone get hurt, period. And nothing breaks my heart more to know that in some instances, though one has to quantify this, that kind of violence was unnecessary to keep the peace. And so, again, I cannot impress upon all of our partners up and down the state of California to promote restraint, respect, the honor, and the privilege of the work that they do, and make sure that we are not creating an environment where we're putting people in harm's way, and we are not doing things that don't do justice to our calling. And so when there are inappropriate acts done, people need to be accountable. And that's another message. There'll be accountability. We will appropriately investigate any acts of violence against others, whether those acts be perpetuated by people in positions of power and influence with badges on or uniforms, or members of the community that are attacking and assaulting in a violent manner innocent people and businesses.
I'm being told that we need to wrap it up. So as our final question, a number of reporters have asked about the state budget. As you know, the state Senate passed their own proposal last week. What was your reaction to what they passed? Do you agree with, the parts that they've passed related to state workers? They are not suggesting a pay cut as you have. And are you planning to add anything to your budget proposal to help some of the businesses that have been hurt by both the coronavirus shutdown and by the protests?
Yeah, we obviously have to do more to help support our small business leaders. As a former small business person myself, I intimately appreciate the incredible sacrifice, the courageous entrepreneurialism that is so much part of the state of California in particular, where innovation and entrepreneurial spirit runs through our veins. And so I'm deeply concerned about the pandemic as it relates to the impact on small businesses. We doubled the budget that we put together for small business loans, microloans for business, particularly women and minority-owned businesses. We had other very targeted support for small business as it relates to waiving fees for new small business creation in the budget. And clearly this moment will demand us to consider perhaps even more. As it relates to the give and take of a budget process, I've been through this many, many times. All I can say is I appreciate the collaborative spirit. I appreciate the work that the Senate is doing, the support that the Assembly is giving to this process. And we continue to have very robust and very, very positive conversations. And that's what a budget is all about. We submit our thoughts. We go through a deliberative process. They put out competing proposals. We work across those differences in the spirit of collaboration and the spirit that defines this moment, which is the spirit of collaboration. And we work to get to a threshold where we can together support a package that needs to be delivered by June 15th and signed by myself by July 1st, and I'm confident we're well on our way to meeting those goals, and I respect and appreciate the work that they've done in the process to date. I also just want, in closing, express real appreciation for the work that we have to do together over the course of the next hours, days, and weeks, and many, many months and years ahead, as it relates to our commitment, our resolve to do more than just pass resolutions urging or pass this moment by not recognizing the enormity of our responsibility to not only quell the violence that persists today, but to address the foundational issues that led to the violence in the first place. And so, again, I want to just thank everybody for their persistence, their power of their voice. I, again, want to just encourage people to exercise their voice and recognize how resonant each and every one of you are in terms of your capacity to lead and lead us through this very difficult and challenging time, and do so with the spirit of commonality, the spirit that brings us all here together in this house of worship. I want to thank Pastor for his support and his leadership, and for all of those leaders that were assembled here today. Thank you for your guidance. Thank you for your faith and devotion and cause, not only to the state of California, but the state, the black community here in the United States of America. Thank you.
All right, Governor Gavin Newsom using his very big platform to talk about the systemic racial injustice that exists in this country. Speaking directly to those who feel wronged, he says you have a right to feel wrong. Society has a responsibility to you to do better and be better.
Yeah, this is really the cause of Gavin Newsom's life. Some people may not know that growing up, Gavin Newsom had an African-American foster brother that lived with him and his mother at their home. His wife, Jennifer Siebel Newsom, is a documentary filmmaker. She has made several films about this issue of what she sees as systemic injustice, especially systemic injustice when it comes to the African-American community and classism in America. And so you've heard from him a level of sort of personal passion that you don't usually hear from Gavin Newsom. He likes to think of himself as a sort of technocrat that talks about a lot of numbers and does those briefings, usually at coronavirus, Marla, without any notes going into the details of the budget and coronavirus. But today, I think you got a sense of the passion of his life, which is this issue of systemic justice and the outrage that he feels that these issues that he's been talking about and his wife has been talking about for multiple decades, in his view, have not been solved.
Yeah, and he says that clearly people have run out of patience, and he put himself in that boat. He says he's run out of patience as well. He talked about the effort to secure the streets, though, the situation to protect everybody, about public safety. He says an additional 1,100 National Guard have been called in across the state of California. That totals now about 4,500 National Guards. CHP has 1,000, far beyond that, 7,000 CHP officers spread throughout the state of California because, Alex, as our choppers over this current situation that's peaceful right now in Van Nuys, this is happening up and down California, no matter where you are across the country, in fact, and these peaceful protests, as we've seen the last several days, have turned violent.
And it was interesting when he talked about the National Guard, he was asked, could you just send in the National Guard if officials don't ask for them? He said that would create all sorts of problems. We're working together on this. So just to be clear, the leaders in LA County have asked for the National Guard. That is why that they are here. The local leaders in places like downtown Los Angeles, Santa Monica, Long Beach have asked for the National Guard to come into those cities because they have just been overwhelmed by this situation. So we've got a lot of protests planned for this afternoon in different parts of Southern California. Let's hope that they do remain peaceful. And we look now on the streets of Los Angeles. We're also looking at Catherine Barger, who is the supervisor, the chair of the LA County Board of Supervisors. Usually at this time, we get an update on the coronavirus situation.